Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, September 6th. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend and Labor Day. There's a lot of movement going on in the market here that happened yesterday and is trying to stabilize this morning. So I'm going to run through a bunch of charts and flip through some different time frames just to try and get caught up. I think after a 3-day weekend, I think it's going to take a day or two for people to kind of get back into the trading groove and to see the market kind of figure out what it's going to do before we see really huge volume move into the market. That being said, we had a big down day yesterday in the futures and overseas. Some bad news came out in Euroland, and that really caused a lot of pressure on stocks and moved a lot of money into the safe havens like bonds and gold. So let's just take a quick look at the charts. Here we've got the US dollar index. It's the 60-minute chart, and you can see the past few trading sessions, about the past week and a half here, we've seen the US dollar breakout and move to the upside. I did put a target on it around the 75.40 area. If I zoom out here to the 4-hour chart, we can see the pattern a little farther back. I pointed out we could see it go right through somewhere up sorry, not here, somewhere up into these previous highs, which is this previous high was the main one I was looking at for a possible double top. And of course, it's going through some other highs back here. And we saw it come up there. It actually pulled back down pretty sharply once it got to that level, and this morning it started to push higher again, which I am anticipating a break. I pointed out actually last night in my weekend article, showing that we probably get another surge higher, and then from there it's probably going to get choppy and likely pull back down a bit. This could be a major reversal in the market, though, overall for the dollar. If we zoom out, you can see we've got a nice breakout of this kind of falling. It's a little bit of a wedge. We've had support held up several times, and now we're getting a nice bounce off it. It feels as though the market is trying to, the US dollar index is trying to form a base here. We could see it come up. We could see it trade in this upper half of this range up here for a while and bounce around, and then from there it would be more or less a bull flag, and we could actually see a breakout to the upside. And as Euroland kind of crumbles, we'll see the US dollar actually pick up speed and actually start to gain value. And of course, most likely that'll hurt the equities market. They'll continue to fall, but the US dollar will gain some speed along with probably precious metals if that's how that plays out. So let's take a quick look at some commodities here. Here we've got the crude oil chart. This is the daily chart. Of course, we've been in a strong downtrend, had a little bit of a pause. We came up to a key resistance zone. If we just came up to this previous pivot low, came near the 50-period moving average. We did pierce this previous high, and from there it happened on relatively light volume. There's a little bit of a rising kind of wedge here, and volume was declining on oil. Usually when that happens, you'll see it kind of sell back off, and that's what's happened here. We've seen the boost in the dollar, and that's actually put some extra pressure on crude oil. So right now we're trading down into a support zone and a support trend line, also a previous pivot low. The question is, what is crude oil going to do? Overall, it looks bearish, and if the Euroland continues to have issues and the economy kind of flatlines, we could see crude oil break down and come down for a double dip here to the 75, 76 area. Possibly it would first have to test the 79 area that made a low here a few weeks back. So I am bearish on the crude oil chart, but overall this type of price action that we have here is looks very similar to a bottom trying to form. That being said, if we were to fast forward in time here, a bottom could take still quite a bit of time with crude oil. It could play out for a few months still and chop down here and build a big base before actually reversing its trend and starting to head up. So that's kind of where we stand right now. Looking at gold, we got the 4-hour chart, and you can see we're going back about a month, and we've had the recent run up here late last week, came back up to test this high. We pierced that high in overnight trading, and then some big volume stepped in, sold it right down, and it's stabilizing here. Of course, with continued weakness in Euroland, we'll probably see it hold up here, and it could actually continue to go a little bit higher. But overall, excuse me, gold is a little overdone, more or less. We're seeing volatility pick up, and I do feel as though you don't want to be shorting gold but I don't know if you want to be jumping in and chasing right here. If you have a core position, I would just continue to hold it. But we are testing with some previous highs, and we may get another run up here with some more fear out of Euroland, and but then after that, once there is some type of resolution, I think we're going to see gold deflate quite a bit and probably come back down to test the 1700 level area and possibly trade within this range for quite some time. Looking at silver, silver did quite a bit the same as gold. Excuse me. We had a little bit of a pop this morning on some news, some fear, and then it's kind of just moved back down again. Not a whole lot going on in silver. It is trying to stabilize. It's kind of working its way up with a very unpredictable kind of price action here. Not really what you want to be trading, in my opinion. If we take a quick look at bonds, bonds again are a safe haven. People move into them when they're fearful of stock prices falling. We've seen a huge surge in the last month in bond prices, and we're actually starting to get a nice topping pattern here. And I do feel as though we're going to see some type of bottom. The fact that we're getting these, we had this nice run up, sharp pullback, another run up to a new high, sharp pullback, and we're getting another run up to another high. This, a lot of times you'll see this three runs to a high, to new highs, kind of like this, and then from here you'll see it kind of pull back again, form some type of flag, bear flag, and actually roll over and head back down. So I do feel as though bonds are getting a little toppy here, and that there's going to be some type of fix overseas. Obviously things are getting worse, and that's usually what happens before they get better. So I think we're seeing a final wave here of the market going in, and there's probably going to be some pretty big news, some major adjustments overseas, and it's going to have a huge impact on bonds and metals and equity prices going forward, probably in the next week or two. Maybe even a month. I don't know how long it'll take them to resolve issues over there. It's a completely different scenario than what we had here. So it's going to be interesting to see, but we're going to continue to play the setups that look to be in favor, and not try and get in front of a big trend, rather play the trend. So that's kind of where we stand right now. Looking at the SP 500 futures, this is the 10-minute chart. You can see the red moving average. It's a 200 period moving average for this, and you can see we've had a nice trend down, and we had a nice bounce up here this morning. If we just zoom into yesterday, this is yesterday's trading hours on Monday. We saw this price action here. We saw more or less a waterfall sell-off, had a little bit of a bounce. This morning it's tried to stabilize, came up, hit the 200 period moving average, is rolling back down, testing these previous lows. And if you just kind of zoom back on the chart, you'll see when the market starts to roll over, it'll start to test the 200 period. Things become very choppy, and that's where we are now. So if I was to fast forward this, we could start to see the market try and bottom here, and it'll start to jump around, make some lower lows, and eventually break to the upside, and then continue to work its way up in a big pattern, very similar to what we saw right back here. It starts to become very choppy during a pivot point, tests the 200, starts to chop through it, and then you see the trend pick up speed, and then there'll usually be a pretty good check to make sure to shake any bulls out, and to one last kind of wave of selling before it takes another run higher. So that's kind of where we are. I think we got a few days of chop ahead of us, and it's going to be pretty volatile sessions. Now looking at the let me just pull the 4-hour chart of the futures. You can see overall the price pattern here is looking pretty bearish. We've had a strong move down on strong volume, and more or less we've kind of wiggled sideways here. We're pretty far from the August lows still. We still have quite a ways to go, but there's no reason why we can't go back down and test them, possibly even pierce them. Things usually get really volatile and will shake everything up before it bottoms, so we might still see lower prices. Currently the price is still in relatively good standings. It has yet to break this pivot low here. It hasn't broken this pivot low, and of course we've got a couple more, and we've got the main bottom down here. So usually the market has to run a few levels of stops, which will be a stop set right down here. There's going to be a bunch of people having stops set in here, and there's going to be a lot in here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the market dip flush all those stops out. Everybody goes into panic mode, and then we actually see a double bottom come in here, and we probably see a pretty strong rally back up. So that's kind of where we stand in the next couple of days. We are currently short. We did short right up here last week. We've caught a nice downdraft. We took some profits on this small gap down that we had. Continue to hold the balance, and I'll be adjusting our stop today to make sure we don't give back too many gains on that position. We could still see quite a bit lower prices. I don't want to get too greedy. We have had a really good move in our favor, and we are coming down to two previous pivot lows, which is this pivot low and this pivot low, which will act as support. And it only takes 3 minutes for the market to rocket higher in this type of market environment, and you can give back about 1%. So we'll keep our eye on the market. Anyways, that's it for now, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Bye bye.